Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about building and capturing a Windows 10 image in your environment. That's what we're going to go over. I created a customized Windows WIM file, like a Windows 10 WIM file from the install WIM. So today we're going to be talking about how to customize it. Some of the things you want to customize in your image that's pretty much standard across, your devices, and some things to consider. So with that, let's get started. So today is about Windows 10. So I've got my assistive environment open. As you can see, I've got to log back in. Alright, so all of the imaging operating system stuff is located under software library, operating systems, and then we're going to have right now we have no image here, and then we don't have a task sequence when we start talking about deployments of Windows 10. So right now, so with that, let's get started. So I created a separate VM, and I called it Windows 10 image, and I've made some changes. So like, for example, now you can do some customization with ICD, which is the custom designer. It's the Microsoft tool that comes with the Windows 80K, which you would then need to install on your Windows 10 machine, open up the ICD, and then do your installation customization designer and add whatever customizations you want. And it gives you a kind of a nice little tailor approach to how you want some settings that you want to change. Now, I've been doing this a pretty long time, and I pretty much know all the different settings that most companies typically like to change, and so I've kind of done that already manually. And so now the only thing I have to do is just prep this machine, shut it down, and then capture the image. So that's kind of where I'm at, though. But in my next video, I'll walk through how the ICD works and the customization that you can do there as well. So what I've done here is I've modified the tile area, because in Windows 10, when you install it by default, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that downloads, like some games, Candy Crush. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. So in a lot of environments and corporations don't like games on there, so I removed all of those. I removed some junk programs off here. I did some tweaks in the Windows firewall, some tweaks to Windows updates. You want to turn those things off in the image. You don't want those things on. Also, when you're building a machine, you want to make sure that your machine that you're creating an image on is a desktop computer, not a laptop computer, because a laptop computer has extra drivers that you need to consider, like fingerprint sensors and stuff like that. You don't typically see on a desktop. So you want it to be kind of a clean build without too many drivers in there. You can always install those drivers after the fact. So that can be the laptops I do separately. But I just grab a simple, or you can do a VM image and just have it just as basic as possible with some configuration changes. I then changed like some network settings. I disabled the IP6 that tends to cause issues, so I turn those things off. I configure and turn off the screensaver here. I also configure all of the power settings to make it, so that, to eliminate the power usage. You can also control those things with group policies as well. But so I turn all of that stuff off in the image, because then all of that stuff can get managed by either your provisioning packages, with the ICD, if you use that, or through group policy. You can manage all those from here. But on an image, you don't want to have too many of those settings in place. Also, my machine is not on a domain, so I'm doing all of these settings from within, not being on a domain, because once you add the computer domain, it's going to start getting all of the default group policies, and it's not a good idea to capture all that in an image. So I recommend just capturing all this stuff while it's on a work group, through a USB. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing today. I'm kind of really doing it, and doing it this way, you really get a clean image. You sys prep it, you clean out all the STIDs, you clean out, and then I also like to, I have a script that closes out all the footprints and all the places I've gone in here in this Windows image. So so those are the things that I've done here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start capturing this image. So alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create a sysprep. I've got all my, let's go to do it this way. I'm going to use the command line. Oops. the command line. Oops. Oh. Okay. So I went ahead and reran the command. There was a little extra space in the command. So now what this is going to do, it's going to go ahead and sysprep the machine, get rid of all the SIDs, generalize it, and do an OBE configuration. Also, you can only run sysprep only 8 times on your Windows 10 machine. If you have reached 8 times, then you have to rebuild a new image. So just keep that in mind, that when you're doing this, you have up to 8 times to run the same command on the same machine if you make any more changes. So I just wanted to let you know about that. So this will take a little bit of time to run, and then once it shuts down, then I'm going to go ahead and create a capture ISO file. So I'll show you that in just a moment. Okay, as you can see, the sysprep is completed and it's now shutting down the machine. There you go. So now we're going to we want to capture this image. It's basically called a reference image. So I have the VM here that's got all the settings that I want, so that if I ever want to deploy this Windows 10, it'll have all of those settings I want. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this for a second. So to create an ISO file, you're going to need to go in, oh, darn, not that. Didn't mean to click on that. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the task sequence, and what you want to do is create task sequence, or actually create task media is the one you want to click on. Create task sequence media. So the one you want to do is that capture media. This is going to create a media used to capture an operating system deployment image on a reference computer. So that's what you want, capture media. And then you want to go ahead and we're going to call it capture. You may have other capture. I'm going to call it capture. Yeah, just call it capture. Actually, let me do this. It's there we go. I'm just going to call it capture ISO. I mean, you can probably call it Win10 capture or what have you. You're probably going to have multiple capture, like for another operating system. You know, I can reference the name to be the operating system, however you want to do it. For, you know, for my testing and demonstration, I'm just going to call it capture ISO. And then I'm going to use the 64-bit boot image, and I'm going to use this distribution point. Now you may have different you may have different locations where people are doing imaging, so you want to just pick a distribution point that's going to where this device is going to be booted up from. So that's that. Next, and then now it's going to create this ISO file for me, at which time I can then burn to a CD or a USB stick. And so I gotta wait for it to finish. So this will take a few minutes, and I'll be back. All right, so in order for me to capture that Windows 10 image, I need to make sure that the Windows 10 image that I created is going to boot up into the CD-ROM drive so that I can capture that image. And I'm gonna call it, I give it a name for the WIM file, for the customized WIM file. So make sure you do that. Okay, now at this point it's booting up to that ISO file that we created earlier. So once you boot up to the CD, it should automatically launch the launch media. So I'm kind of showing you what that'll sort of look like here. You have to make sure that your workstation is not on a domain. You won't be able to capture that. And then also connect it to some network, share somewhere so you can place that media file or that WIM file someplace. It'll launch, and then you'll want to create a destination. So I'm just going to put it somewhere here, although technically you want to put it on the network share somewhere. Leave that blank. Give your name. I'm just going to call it 1.0. And then you go ahead and finish. And it'll basically capture all of the components and place it in that WIM file. But typically you want to put it on a network share, not on the main system. So I wanted to show you kind of what this part looks like. So it should automatically boot into the ISO file, and then you go ahead and launch the task media, and it'll actually create the WIM file from the capture media CD. And so I'm going to let this run through and give it a second. Okay, as you can see, it's still going through the image capture wizard. And this does take a little bit of time. So it could technically, depending on how big the image is on the workstation, it could take anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the speed of the machine that you're imaging or the reference computer that you're capturing. So, yeah, you just have to let it run through its course. You'll get to this point where it says shut down. So I'll go ahead and restart it now. See, it's going through the initializing WinPE because it's booting up into the CD-ROM drive, and it'll boot into this CD. Once you burn the ISO file to a CD, this is what will happen. And as you can see, it's going through capturing the reference machine, and this will take a little bit of time. Okay, when it's done, you'll see image successfully captured to .wim, and press OK to restart the computer and run the Windows setup. So this is where we're at. So now it's successful. I'm going to let it reboot. As you can see, I have my WIM file right here. So once you create that WIM file, as you just saw me demonstrate, then you can import that WIM file into SCCM. So that concludes how to capture a Windows 10 image, or any image for that matter, whether it be 2016, 2019, or Windows 7 if you still got some of those around. But primarily I'm just going to be focusing on the current operating systems in my demonstrations. So again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below on how to capture a Windows 10 image. I'm going to be creating a another video here shortly to create an answer file, and how to do that. That's actually a request from a subscriber. So again, if you do have any questions or if you have any comments, let me know. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Consider subscribing. There's going to be a lot more content coming your way. Again, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.